core competencies are definitely speed, ease of use, and transparency. So we take over 30 categories of items, but cell phones are the hardest to grade because people are a little bit more in tune with them. And then second of all, it's the mobile connection. Is it clear for activation? Has it been reported lost or stolen? Is it account locked? It could be on someone's iCloud account. It could be on someone's Google account. So those are the three main things that you have to check when you're dealing with cellular devices. And then above and beyond that, what we do for certified pre-owned is it's going through a 40-point diagnostic test. Everything's going to be checked in terms of the functionality. And then we clean it, we sanitize it, and then we grade it. So when you come into one of our stores, you actually get to say like, wow, that's even better than I expected. And like I said, only the best of the best is going to make it into the store. So, that's kind of the certified pre-owned aspect of what we do. My name is Andreas Leptourgos. I'm the founder of BuyBackX, amongst other things, and we specialize in the buying and selling of consumer electronics. What makes us a little bit unique is that we focus on secondhand electronics as opposed to new devices. And what we're trying to accomplish is changing a consumer's perception about what used should be or could be. And basically, we believe that secondhand shouldn't be second rate. So when you come into one of our stores, I've been doing this for 15 years, but just recently we launched a bricks and mortar retail location. And the whole idea for the bricks and mortar retail location was, after doing this for 15 years, I've bought and sold over 1 million devices worth over $100 million. But I still have friends within my inner circle that say, hey, do you do screen repairs or do you fix this? And that's not what we do. So during those years, we were focusing mainly on the acquisition of devices. And we didn't really build the brand out of, hey, you can buy a certified pre-owned device. So with the store, it's kind of a see it to believe it type of thing. You have to come into the store and see, what is available. Is it just phones? Is it the devices? Is it just tablets? It's A through Z, everything that you would see in a Best Buy or an Apple store and more. Throughout the years, we've taken in everything, but in the retail location, only the best of the best make it to the storefront. So even though we might take in a device on a trade-in or a sale, what we call a buyback, as cracked or damaged, you would never ever see that in one of our stores. Everything that you would see in the store is literally the best of the best, and that's what we say, certified pre-owned is. So when you go into, oh, used is used. No, I don't like that word. We don't use that word because used is, hey, you can go on a marketplace, you can buy a device, and you don't know what you're getting. When you buy something certified pre-owned, it's coming in signature packaging. It's going to be clean, sanitized, data wiped, and it's going to be repackaged as if you just bought something brand new. So if it's supposed to have a charger, it's going to come with a charger. A lot of used dealers, if they're dealing in the buying and selling transactional aspect, if a customer comes in and sells a MacBook without a charger, now when another customer comes in and wants to buy that same MacBook, they're just getting handed over a MacBook. And that's a cheap feeling. That's not a premium feeling. So everything in the store is an elevated, upgraded feeling. So that same sort of warm, fuzzy, excited feeling you get when you open something new, we want to recapture that, box it up, and give it to you in the secondhand or certified pre-owned. The great thing about our devices are that you can come in and you can actually gift it to someone, and it's not just a loose device. A lot of times, say you go on eBay and you buy a device, you're just getting a device maybe in a plastic bag or an empty box, and you're like, okay, great, I have a device, it works, but there's no excitement, there's no premium feeling to that. And actually, in a lot of times, I believe that our feeling and our packaging is actually better than what you can get new. Because nowadays, when you buy a new iPhone, for instance, there's no block. It's just a cable. So all of our devices come with a power block, a cable, and the same way when you walk out of a store with a new device, you're going home and you're ready to use it. That's the same thing that you can do when you come buy a certified pre-owned device from us.
So you covered a lot in there, and I think I'm excited to have this conversation because I think that there's a lot of questions that come with the certified pre-owned or just pre-owned industry in general. It's been around for a very, very long time. I think as long as pre-owned has been around since people started owning anything.
Yes,
You could see whether it was a wheelbarrow 2,000 years ago, it was pre-owned that. But for example, pre-owned devices have been around for as long as devices have been around. And websites like you were talking about, like your original website, had been around for a long time, but there has been a degree of uncertainty or I guess sketchiness is the easiest word I
correct.
could think of
Yeah.
in the industry because there's a lot of people that do try to scam people like, oh, this is a this iPhone. I mean, think of the Facebook Marketplace. Oh, come buy this iPhone. You have no idea if it works or not, right?
Yeah, if you even make it out alive.
Well,
That's
exactly.
so I would say, yeah, one of our, our three main core competencies are definitely speed, ease of use, and transparency. So you can come, sell something, and be on your way in under 5 minutes. And if on the flip side, when you want to buy something, you're actually getting to see the device and you're making sure that it is what it is. And even above and beyond that, let's go back to what certified pre-owned is, because anyone can slap that label on anything and say, hey, mine's certified pre-owned. But especially with consumer devices that have a mobile connection, like a cell phone or a tablet or an Apple Watch like that, there's an additional item that needs to be checked. They're actually the most complex devices to check. So we take over 30 categories of items. We have the largest product catalog in the world, over 50,000 SKUs. But cell phones are the most complex because, number one, it's sort of a logical thing. People consume everything on their phone. Even this content that we're going to look at, people are going to be scrolling on their phone. So if there's an issue with the phone, say the screen has a blotch or there's an LCD bright spot or something, a button is sticky, it's going to annoy someone a lot more. Whereas if I sold you an Apple TV that was scuffed up and scratched and sat behind your TV box, it wouldn't bother you. So first of all, phones, they're the hardest to grade because people are a little bit more in tune with them. And then second of all, it's the mobile connection. Is it clear for activation? Has it been reported lost or stolen? Is it account locked? It could be on someone's iCloud account. It could be on someone's Google account. So those are the three main things that you have to check when you're dealing with cellular devices. And then above and beyond that, what we do for certified pre-owned is it's going through a 40-point diagnostic test. Everything's gonna be checked in terms of the functionality. And then we clean it, we sanitize it, and then we grade it. So you're getting a standard of grading, because what we've seen even on the website side is everyone says, oh, my device is excellent. It's great. And when we get it, it's heavily worn. It's not great. So that's where the interpretation comes. So when you come into one of our stores, you actually get to say like, wow, that's even better than I expected. And like I said, only the best of the best is going to make it into the store. So, that's kind of the certified pre-owned aspect of what we do. Above and beyond that, what we're looking to do is complete transparency. So the same way that the used, I guess, car market is huge, but you would never ever buy a used car without a Carfax. We've developed digital device history reports. So when you buy a device from us, it comes with a warranty seal and a warranty card. You can go onto the website, put in the IMEI or the serial number of your device, and it's going to show you what we call a device history report. It's going to show you what was checked, where it was checked, how it was checked, and what was done to it. And like I said, it's about a 40-point diagnostic test, and that's what we're trying to get people to come to an understanding of. The same way you would never buy that used car without a Carfax, you should never buy a used device without seeing the device history report of what was done to it and
Just
how.
to piggyback on that, so do they get the device history report before or after they purchased the item?
Well, they can see it. So as soon as the device goes through our diagnostic process and our grading process, we populate and create that report.
Oh, so if they're just even browsing on the website, they could see all those reports.
Correct, yeah. And like I said, it's all based on QR, so they can literally so when you come into our store and you can see a barcode, you could say, okay, this is an iPhone 15, 256, whatever. But you can scan that QR code right there on your phone, and you could see everything that was done to
Wow.
it. So it's digitally available, and it's also transferable. What's nice is that even though we've just opened this first location in Huntington, the goal is to make this a model and then bring it to every state across the country. What's going to be nice is that once we have that network, we'll be able to say, okay, your device was originally taken in here in New York, but now somehow it got resold to a friend who went to Chicago, and you'll still be able to have a equilibrium of where this device went and what happened to it.
It's incredible. You mentioned transparency, and I'm curious. Obviously, I'm not looking for specific numbers here, but like, this seems like a lot of work to go into a pre-owned phone, and I'm just curious how the profit margin works in this. Like, phones are already relatively expensive, so I understand the buyback market when you try to sell something back to Apple, and it's really you can sell it privately for $500, and Apple's like, oh, we'll give you $27 for it. Well, like, obviously, there's
Yeah,
margin for profit there. Is it similar to you guys? Is like you take less than it would be private? Like, how does that work?
it's a complex question, so I have to kind of go through it layer by layer. So first of all, let's use the example that you said about Apple. Apple doesn't do trade-ins. That's just a value-add proposition. They're a publicly traded company that cares about top-line revenue. Their goal, and their only goal, is to push top-line revenue, and that's by selling more units and by obviously increasing revenue. So they work with trade-in partners in the background who process that.
Oh, that's interesting.
We and then these devices go to auction, and we'll work with these trading partners. We actually work with carriers on the background too, because carriers don't actually process anything either. They're just basically aggregating the devices just to get you to sign up for a new device, and then in the background, all the processing aspect happens. So yes, is it a lot of work that goes into a device? It is, and I think that comes full circle to buying a used device. If you go on Facebook Marketplace, sometimes even an innocent person, they're like, "Oh, I've been using this, it works fine," but it doesn't work fine. There's a sticky button, or everything works, but it has a cracked screen. But yeah, does the LCD work? I guess technically it does, but it's a cracked screen. So sometimes a little bit of innocence where someone doesn't describe it properly, because it is pretty complex to get the grading right. So if I go to, let's say, my track record, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've moved our processing facility 3 times. And each time you move it, there's growing pains because you have to have transferable skill sets of who can do what and how. The hardest position is the quality control position. In e-commerce, if I have someone that needs to do packing and receiving, they can be up and running within 24 hours. So I show them the box, this is how it goes in, the general concept's there. I've trained over probably 200 people to be able to test the device and make sure that, number one, they're getting an accurate assessment. Number two, they're going through all the tests that need to get done. And then number three, they're grading it correctly. Because believe it or not, if I sell something as nuanced as excellent versus good, someone's going to say, oh, well, this isn't excellent. There's heavier scratching in it. So then you take a return, and it starts that whole process over and over again.
Mm.
So yes, it is very difficult to grade. And I think that's why when you come to our store and you can see it for yourself, or you can say, okay, this brand actually goes through the grit of making sure that the grading is done right. That's where you can say, okay, I can go on the website, buy this in good condition or excellent condition. I can give it to a friend or a family member, and make sure that they get something that they'll be happy to use.
What percent at the moment is online versus in store?
The two brands are operating separate from each other.
So
So
separate businesses essentially?
yes, they're very much related, but they're operating separate from each other. So even in the store, though, however, most of the sales, believe it or not, are happening online, because you got to remember, a store, say, is 10 to 6, 9 to 5, whatever you want to call it. There's only so much window time that you can have customers come in, whereas online is 24/7. So right off the bat, you have 3 times more visibility to a
Mm.
product. So I would say right now it's about a 65-35 split online sales versus in-person
Mm.
sales. And then through the website, it's solely online. So that's 24/7 going online.
So I was originally going to ask about warranty because I think that's a concern that a lot of people have when they
Hmm.
purchase something pre-owned is like, okay, whether it be anything from a iPhone to even a fridge, not that I'm not saying you
Yeah.
sell fridges, but like it's like, okay, well, what if I have all my stuff in here and it dies in 3 days? Like I have no idea. So the concern I think for buying used is there's no warranty.
Yes.
And you mentioned the fact that you offer warranty. So can you elaborate on that?
Correct. All right. So that goes back to the definition of used and certified pre-owned. Like I said, used, you go online, you sell it. It's no strings attached. You're on your own. That's kind of the Craigslist parking lot meetup. You don't know, you made it out alive. You got the device. You're fine. So certified pre-owned. First of all, if you come and buy something from us, if you're not completely happy with it or you don't love it, we want to take it back, because someone else is going to love it, and no harm, no foul. So you have a
Hmm.
30 days, no question asked return policy.
Well,
And above and beyond that, we have a 1-year warranty, the same way you would get a 1-year warranty from a new device. So as long as you don't drop it on the sidewalk, because that's above and outside the scope of a warranty, we do sell additional warranties for that. But if you're saying, hey, I took it home and the button didn't work or the screen isn't what I expected, we'll take it back, no problems
well,
asked. So that's how that works in that sense.
yeah, absolutely. It's a major selling point, I think. Absolutely.
It is. And it comes back to that transparency. It's, hey, we want you to feel confident that you're buying this, and not saying, well, I'm taking a shot. Again, the main draw of buying certified pre-owned or used, let's just go back to used, has been really price sensitivity. Hey, I can buy this for 100 new, or I can buy it for 70 used. And while that is still a main draw, that you can get a tremendous savings, say 30 to 40%, especially as device values go up and up and up, we don't want that to be the only selling point. We want you, again, to come in. It's going to be packaged. It has new accessories. It comes with a digital warranty device history report. You're going to see what was done to it. And that's actually more transparent than a new device in a sense. I mean, not that you want to know where it was made, but you can actually look up the warranty and it'll show you all the steps. So again, what is certified pre-owned versus used? It's, rest assured, if you don't like it, love it, bring it back.
Mm.
We're not going anywhere. We haven't gone anywhere. We've been featured in many publications, so we'll take it back.
Speaking of featured in many publications and just the awareness of your brand, how are you getting your brand out there and how are you differentiating from all these other sites that are doing things similar to yourself?
Well, again, it's interesting because I have this one business I've been operating through the internet, and that's 15 years.
Are they the same business name or are they different business
Different
names?
business name.
Can you just, I think I missed that.
Okay, so the website, the main website I operate is buybackworld.com. And then the stores are BuyBackX stores. And then in between, along that journey, I also acquired another website that was previously publicly traded. That's the letter U, sell.com. I also manage that as well. The U Sell and the Buyback World, they're strictly online.
I've been on the Usell website.
You have? Okay, yeah. So I don't know at what point
I don't know
later,
either,
but
but
okay, yeah. So I acquired that in 2019. So I run that as well. But now in the stores, it's BuyBackX stores. And yeah, so they're all related, but they're separate. And the main reason for the stores being separate from the website, the whole goal of the store, again, is to serve as a flagship model because we want to franchise it out and say, hey, this should go into every state across the country. And we just didn't want a franchisee to say, oh, well, I want a piece of that website. So that's why we kind of split it. Through the store, though, we do offer, getting a quote online the same way and, buying online. So they're intertwined, but it's just, segregated in that sense.
hmm how did you get into this industry?
Yeah, that's a long question. I'll take you back. I'll take you back a few years too. So, 2008, I graduate school. I'm a finance and accounting major. I'm working on Wall Street. Good job, and living in the city. A lot of expenses. You have all this stuff at your fingertips, and it's kind of frustrating if you can't, go to the restaurant or you can't go out. So I was like, okay, how can I make a little bit extra money? I wasn't planning on quitting my job because I had a good job. So I was like, let's go internet related. So I was working at Citibank at the
In
time,
2004, internet related, you're saying?
2008. Yeah,
Oh, sorry, 2008.
2008. So um, I'm working at the bank. I go there from pretty much 8 to 8, 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., moonlighting, building a website. Yeah, I went on for about a year, open a website, and then I realized that it doesn't matter if you build a website, there's 200 million websites, so you have to drive traffic. So what we do is June 24th, 2010, iPhone 4 comes out. We set up teams in the city. People come out of the Apple store, like on Fifth Avenue, with their new iPhone, and we offer to buy it for cash on the spot. And we bought a ton of iPhones. That day alone, we bought over $10,000 worth of iPhones. Seemed like a lot back then. I mean, now we churn through that in hours. But the next day, I went into my office and I told my boss, I was like, hey, I have $10,000 worth of iPhones sitting in my apartment. I have no idea how to sell them. I have to figure out how to sell them. So this is my 2 weeks. And I put my 2 weeks
Wow.
notice in, and I basically ran the business out of my apartment. So we went from buying the phones on the street to sort of using that to promote the website. And it happened very slow, organically. Then we got picked up in, CNET, PC Mag, the New York Times, been in Forbes. I've been in Inc. 500 6 times. So it kind of exploded really quickly. After a year of doing nothing, we went from doing, say, 100,000 in sales to 2.5 million in sales. And then it went from there, there. So um, the online business was doing really well, and it still is. But again, it came down to people still asking me 15 years later, hey, do you, fix screens? Do you do this? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, what can I get? And I realized that online, it's so transactional that people don't fully get to see the quality of the devices, and they just assume that use is use, and oh, he's dealing with cracked devices or really second-rate devices, and we're not. So I was like, I need a store to showcase how good these products are, and to show people that hey, as the retail price climbs on new devices, you can still get a great deal, and you don't necessarily need the newest device. So when we started this business, a phone costs $600. Now, if you go buy a top of the line Pro Max, 2 terabytes loaded, you're almost at $1,500. That's almost 2.5 times the price. And what happens is, that everything becomes expensive. The device, the iPad that used to be 500 is now $1,000. But it actually leaves you with your original question of margin. So now you have between $500 and $1,000 of, hey, should I go used and buy this and take a savings? Now it becomes attractive to someone because they're like, why do I need to go spend? I have a family of 4. I need to buy a MacBook. I have to buy phones. I have to buy tablets. You could easily spend $5,000 on these devices, or you can get a similarly spec device, or maybe 30% less. and everything adds up. And when people come in and see the quality of the products, they're like, wow, I should have been doing this the whole time. So that's really
Yeah, I
what got us
regret.
there.
I just bought a new Mac, and I regret not going through you guys.
What kind of Mac did you get? A
Just a
MacBook?
Mac Mini.
Mac Mini, yeah, we
Yeah.
sell those too. And I would like to point out 90% of the business is used or, secondhand, but we do get brand new sealed stuff as well too. That depends, who we're getting it from. And we work with a lot of businesses behind the scenes. So while most of the business on the website is consumer, we do power a lot of trade-ins. So throughout the years, I've had the pleasure of working and powering like the NVIDIA trade-in when they were doing their Shield TVs. I've done the MoMA, Museum of Modern Art, Delta Jets. We work with thousands of different school districts across the country. So tech is everywhere. When people are like, oh, who's your target market or what niche do you operate in? It's anything and anywhere with everyone because everyone has at least one device in their pocket, whether it's a phone or a tablet or whatever it might be. Unfortunately, that's the reality of the world. It's almost kids get phones too early, in my opinion, and they're
And
everywhere.
even earlier than that, they get iPads. So
I know. So, tech is anywhere and everywhere.
yeah.
So it's that's where we come in. And I guess going back to one of the original points you said was the concept of buying and selling has been around since the beginning of time, whether it's a wheelbarrow, whatever. And I truly believe that our value add is not necessarily in that, yes, we're buying the consumer tech, but it's really the technology that powers these trade-ins where we can take any vertical and buy and sell. So you know, if that vertical changes from, say, consumer electronics 5 years from now, we still have the technology to buy and sell anything. And
Mhm.
along those lines, we have bought and sold anything, a lot of different devices outside of the scope, but we kind of hyper focus on the consumer electronics
Mhm.
because that's the main driver and that's what people want.
So essentially, you're saying there's an ability to pivot depending on how the market changes. For example, like right now, Apple's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah,
But if 5 years from now Apple doesn't exist, you have just another pillar is, oh, this X company X, we could just now start selling that essentially.
correct. And that's really where the name for BuyBackX came in for the stores because the X is
Anything.
infinite. It
Yeah.
means anything. And, interestingly enough, the tagline for the franchise is, join a franchise powered by tech, literally, because we're buying and selling tech, but really the backbone of what we do is the tech stack that we have. It's the BBX OS, and it can allow anyone to buy and sell anything in a sense. So if 5 years from now, people aren't using phones, they're using, I don't know, holographic images or whatever it might be, we can accommodate that
Hmm.
relatively quickly. And I guess I'll make one more point to your music background. Music actually has a lot of, I guess, secondhand community behind it. There was a huge marketplace in Reverb
Hmm.
that a lot of people would buy and sell pedals. I've bought a ton of Boss pedals and guitar pedals because we added them to the site and we have traffic to the site and people end up
Wow.
sending them in. Yeah, so we get all
Wow.
that stuff. So that's the thing. We believe in the basket. So we believe in convenience. You can bring in not just your phone. You can bring in your console. You can bring in your calculators. You can bring in your PCs, you can bring in your laptops, your MacBooks, all that stuff. But above and beyond, hey, I have this mic recording. I've bought microphones for podcasts. I've bought hunting scopes. I've bought literally anything and everything you can think of. We've bought because we have the technology to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
that's really the power.
So that's fascinating because a lot of businesses would focus on the idea of, oh, I just need to be niche to really thrive. But it's a very interesting argument that you kind of prove the opposite, where it's like your ability to sell is very niche in the sense of like you have what's the word I'm looking for? Very um, the back end of your sales thing is really well done. So well
Yes,
done. So the fact that you just slap a SKU on it, and now it could sit for however long, essentially.
correct.
Um, I'm curious. Speaking of that, though, does that lead to problems of? Well, I guess we'll kind of piggyback. One of my questions was the logistics of things. How and where do you keep product? That being said, if you buy a hunting scope, which you caught my attention as a hunter, but that being said, like, what if that doesn't sell, and how do you? Obviously, this is, I guess, where the analytics of what's moving, what's not moving, what you buy and what you don't buy comes in. I'm assuming, but like, how do you learn that?
Here's the saying we have in the business. It's everything sells. It's just at what price. So,
Oh wow.
and some things are more liquid than others. So While I probably wouldn't want to go stock 100, hunting scopes because I don't have the liquidity in my downstream channels, it will sell, and it just depends. That'll go into the price that we're willing to pay for it. So even on the website, when you come to our website, we have, like I said, the largest product catalog in the world, and it's kind of condensed to say 30 or 35 categories, but we have a custom quote feature. If you can't find it in our catalog, you click a button, you describe it, we'll give you a custom quote, and that's where all these kind of outlier products come in because we're willing to buy anything. So the
It's pretty
logistics,
cool
it is.
business model actually. It makes total sense. Why not? And the part that I'm sorry to interrupt. The part that I really like about it is like I can buy everything. I'm buying a new laptop.
Yes.
Oh wait, but actually I'm going hunting in 3 weeks and I wanted to upgrade this. And then also my wife said that her iPhone's being you just can all the things are there. Oh my son is this and that. So I'm gonna buy him it's Christmas time. So you can just holidays are probably amazing because you can buy everything on
Yes.
there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Our staff isn't so happy because everyone wants to be
Sure.
home for the holidays, but that's our busy time. So it's kind of
Sure.
like, hey, we have to, work now, and we'll take our breather after,
Hmm.
after January because we get all the returns in
Hmm.
January. But I guess logistically, like what you're saying is let's take it in two parts. Logistically, it is very hard to manage all that. And we had to do everything the hard way because when we started this business, an inventory system could only deal with, okay, take a product that's new, put in the SKU and do, quantity 100. Used product is unique. Just because I have two iPhone 16 Pro Max Space Gray doesn't mean that they're the same. Each IMEI is different. Each
Hmm.
scratching could be different. So we had to create a system that could accommodate unique items, even though they were the same SKU. And then to be able to do that at scale, that's the problem. When you have not that many, you have 10, 20, 30 items, it's easy. So now we've had months where we're moving 1,000 items in, 1,000 items out a week, and they're small devices just to be able to, and these all coming in from all over, the country to unbox them, package them, receive them, test them, resell them. That's where the brain of our system is, totally proprietary, but it also allowed us to scale because if we didn't have the systems that we developed, then we would have never been able to get to where we were. And I guess when you're saying a lot of companies, they prefer to be niche, I would say, what do you think the biggest e-commerce company in the world is? It's almost rhetorical at this point, but no
It's
idea.
Google?
Well, they're
No.
not e-commerce, they're
Okay.
internet.
Okay. Okay.
Amazon.
Oh, sure. Of course. Yeah.
And Amazon, how did they start? Amazon is A
Um.
through Z. So what they did is they took a vertical, which was books, and they said, we're going to put every single title on our website. It doesn't matter, we're not going to stock it, but we're going to put every single title on our website, and so that people know we're the one-stop destination. And then they said, okay, after books, we're going to go to this. So now when you say, what can I do on Amazon? You can buy anything.
You said they're not going to stock it, so essentially they were drop shipping in the
Even from
beginning.
the beginning, they were drop
Yeah.
shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they did.
So is that what you do now,
No,
or?
no, no. We stock everything physically, but on the flip side of being able to buy anything, that's where our value is. I think
Yeah.
it's the basket where, maybe if a customer was going to say, hey, I can get $5 more to sell my phone here and $6 more to sell my tablet here, but then you have to deal with six different
Sure.
transactions.
Yeah.
It's a convenience thing.
Yeah.
So we try to give fair pricing in all capacities, but even at the store, what we see is that most consumers don't sell one item. Maybe they come in and they test this out and they sell one item, but then they're always asking questions of, hey, do you buy this? I just sold you my camera. Can you also buy my console? And then we see that most of the time, most people are selling on average 1.5 items. And our goal and what we're trying to do is grow that because we know that people have more items in their household. The average household has 12 different items. So, and that's easy. That's probably an understatement. That's just what the stats say. But we want people to be able to come in and say, hey, I have this box of stuff. It's literally taking up space. It's cluttering up my house, whatever the case may be. What can I do with it? And then, the monetary aspect is almost secondary. It's just like I wasn't doing anything with it. But what's beautiful about that whole equation is that there's someone else who would love to have that device that you no longer want, whether that's in your local community or it's going to go to another country. So that's what's nice about this whole circular aspect of, used or secondhand or whatever you want to tag it as.
But now logistically, where do you store all these items? I can't even imagine how much space it must take.
Well, we have warehousing in the back end that, yes, we store a ton of stuff. I mean, you have to have something, minimum, depending on what you're moving at the time. Yeah, you have to have a lot of space. The nice thing is that We can also take bins and stack vertically. So on a shelving unit, we can get in, say, a 1 foot vertical space. You can have almost 6 different bins that could store a lot of items. So you don't need as much space as you would think
Mm.
on the smaller end stuff, like the phones and the tablets. It's all the odds and ends. An iMac is going to take up space or this and that. So you just have to have your racks like everything else, and you have to store everything. Again, at the store, we're not showcasing that much. Maybe we'll have 50 items in the store at a time, but we kind of gauge the local community. We kind of say, okay, what are people interested in? Are they looking at the 250 and under price point because okay, I can stock more of those? Are they looking to get the latest and greatest at a 20% discount? Hey, I want to get a 16 Pro Max or a 17 Pro Max and just save 10%. So it really depends on the community and what people ask, and we can always move things around.
In the Huntington community that you serve at the moment, what
Correct.
is that demographic? What are they looking for? Like, are they looking for the high end, the new latest and greatest at a discount? Or are they looking for under a certain price range?
It really depends on the person, I would say. It's
So how do you stock your store then?
well, as things start selling, we're just asking questions. And really the hottest sellers right now have been, say, for younger kids, are the AirPods. They come in, people lose one, they go to the gym, whatever. So then they're like, okay, I keep buying these. They can get AirPods for $80 as opposed to 150, so it's half
Wow.
price. The AirPods Max, which Apple sells for 550, we're selling those for maybe $300. And you can go down the street or to Best Buy, or you can go to Apple in the mall because we're right across from the mall, and you're going to pay almost double. So, that's been really popular with the younger crowd. And then what's been popular in general is we have one display case that's solely dedicated to the 250 and under uh, Apple category. And so we have watches in there, we have phones in there, and we have tablets in there. When you go into an Apple store or Best Buy, there's no Apple product besides the AirPods and maybe a watch you can get for under $500. All the phones are more expensive. All the tablets are more expensive. Maybe an iPad at $350. But people really gravitate. They're like, wow, I can get, an unlocked phone for $100 and I'm traveling overseas. That's going to do well. Or, hey, my parents don't need to have the latest and greatest, but I want to be able to FaceTime them. So,
Hmm.
people have options that they didn't know were available. So that's what's
What kind of
nice.
iPhone can you get for under 250 at the moment?
A ton of them, believe it or not. So like at a $100 price point is like an iPhone SE second gen. Now it's a little bit older, but it's unlocked. It's going to work. And an iPhone SE third gen you can get for 180. So that's under 200. You can get all the iPhone 12s. You can get up to a regular iPhone 14 for under 250. So once you go into like a Pro Maxes and the Pro lines, they're going to get more expensive. But there's a 12 mini for $200. Like,
Now, how does that work with like the iOS? Is it compatible with the iOS and stuff, or how does that work? Because
so
don't they start like say like Apple? What is that process called? Where
planned obsolescence.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Apple's the best. Again, that goes back to my point about top line revenue. Good for the shareholder, not good for the consumer.
Sure.
So when you're going on your device and you try to update the app, it says, hey, you don't have the latest. So every year in June, they have the Worldwide Developers Conference, and they'll say, okay, the new OS is coming out, and they seed it to developers. And then in September, they roll it out with the new iPhones. And every year, part of that rollout is they cut off a certain amount of devices. And Apple usually gives you about 5 years of device age, and then they want you to force you to buy a new one. So when we sell one of those devices, say like an SE second gen,
Which
we'll
is when? When is it?
that's a 2020,
Okay.
right? So
So that's right on the verge at the moment of planned obsolescence.
correct, but we'll make someone aware. We're like, hey, just so you know, in a year, it's not going to allow you to update apps. But if you're just using this for FaceTime or streaming your Spotify, then who cares? It doesn't matter. If you have kids that are playing games, they might annoy you that hey, they can't update it. So we'll just make someone aware what they're buying, and sometimes people don't care. But there are good devices within the last 3 to 4 years where you have that balance of price and you still get a 2 year runway out of it.
Yeah.
Most people only keep the devices for 2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
so it works for them.
It's funny, like you say you buy an iPhone for $100. I'm like, I know, I want to go. I don't even. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out a
Yeah.
way I could use it in my head. I'm like, oh, I was funny. I was just thinking about today. Speaking about hunting, I'm like, I have a wife and almost two kids at home, and I'm like, she doesn't like the idea. I want to go into the woods to be completely
Yes,
alone.
clear your mind and just
Exactly.
reset. I
And
get
not
that.
have the temptation of being on my phone. She
Oh,
doesn't love that because she's like, well, what if there's an emergency? I need to contact you. And I'm
mhm.
like, okay, both are fair points. So I was like, maybe I'll get like a whatever, like a burner phone. Listen, I was like, maybe I'll get a burner phone,
Yeah.
a $30 burner phone, and just like she only has that number. So like, a burner phone for my wife,
Yeah.
but she only has a number. So like, I carry that into the woods. If there's an emergency, she can call that number.
Yes.
But I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just buy $100 iPhone. You know,
Yeah,
like
and it's not bad. Maybe she wants to FaceTime you. So for the extra $60 instead of the $30 phone, and it's still Apple, it's still good quality, and it's unlocked. Hey, if you travel out of country or you have, later on, like what we see is that sometimes someone's doing a semester abroad and they don't want to bring the expensive phone or they might crack it, or kids go through phones. Hey, just take this, as you can have, you can put your eSIM in it, or newer devices eSIM, but you could put a different SIM in and you're good to go. Whatever the case might be, there's different use cases. So that $100 phone is appealing because, like I said, it doesn't exist anywhere else in the
yeah,
world. And to be honest, $100 doesn't get you much these days.
no,
But to get an
you can't go out
iPhone,
to dinner for $100.
no, the pizza store is not $100. You go a pizza, pasta, salad,
Yeah,
and that's it. You're
yeah,
$100.
yeah.
So that's what baffles a lot of people's minds, and they're like, wow, like, and again, it's to your point of they don't even necessarily need that phone. But they're like, wow, but it's $100. Like, what else? It's kind of like the novelty of what can I do with, and you're like, wow, I can
Yeah,
actually get
exactly.
that. And we see that even on the iPads. Sometimes we could take like an 8th gen iPad, normal size iPad, and for $175. You're like,
Where are we now with generations?
on that side, where the 2025 is on the normal iPads is like an 11th gen.
Okay, so a couple of like 3 generations back.
Correct, but not much has changed. And
Mm-hmm.
again, if you wanted the 11th gen, I could say it's $350 at Apple. We can get it to you for $290. Like, you're still saving, but for especially,
Yeah.
let's say, kids or like, hey, parents, again, it does the same thing. I'm browsing the internet, I'm taking a few pictures or whatever it is for $175. Again, that's where we've seen a lot of people sort of orbit to. They're just, I don't know if it's a novelty, but it's just not available anywhere else, and
Well,
that's where we see
there's
people
that.
coming
It's
in.
not available anywhere else, but it's also the aspect of like what you just said. We've started to hit that exponential curve where like things are not changing that much
Yes,
anymore, and
unfortunately.
yeah, sadly, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, the Apple has its conference in September every year, and it used to be really exciting, and now it's like cool, like a slightly better camera, like
Well, they're selling most phones now on camera, believe it or not, and
oh, I
battery
believe
life.
it.
So most of the upgrades are, hey, we have a better camera this year, and the battery life is 20% more efficient, and the processor is this. To your point of releases, so when we first started this business, and again, I said we would go in front of the Apple store and we handed out cash. We made that a tradition. So every year the iPhone would come out, and what we did, we took it a step further some years. So people started expecting us to be there, and
What was the benefit of that? Just so you can get your hands on as many iPhones as possible and
it was a
resell
source
them?
of product, and it was also getting our name out there, because even if someone didn't sell, they were like, there's a lot of coverage. That used to be, the releases used to be
Wow.
huge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember.
Now
Yeah.
everyone's buying and reserving online, so it's not the same. Tim Cook still went there for the this year, and he comes out and they do the clap, clap, clap. But before, there used to be lines around the block. I'm
Sure.
talking massive lines. You have to go back to 2010,
I remember that. Yeah.
15 years, and we actually used to have line sitters. So we would have people who would post up in front of the Apple store 2 weeks before the release, and they would be the first in line. And they got their own notoriety. They would kind of get interviews, but they would be in our T-shirt. We'd sponsor them.
Wow, that's great.
Yes, yes,
I
yeah.
love that, man. That's the guerrilla marketing. I'm such a fan of this. I want to hear all about this, man. Like
So that's how we got our start. And it was, we would have someone there 2 weeks before, and people were like, you're in a lawn chair sitting in front of the Apple store, and good weather, bad weather, it doesn't matter. They would post up and they would wear the shirt, and they'd be the first one to come out. So that first person who came out of the Fifth Avenue Apple store, which is kind of Apple's flagship
Yeah.
across the country, was wearing a BuyBack World T-shirt at the time. And
That's
that would just go to the press. So it was
Oh
partially about
man, I
press, but it
love
was
that.
partially about like, hey, we were the first ones. And then other people started copying us, and they try to get someone else there, and then it became like a personal thing, and it was just like, it was all in good competition. And you can't do those releases anymore. It's just a different time.
Yeah.
Everything's
Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
And so why did we do it? Again, is we did get a lot of product at the time. It got our name out there, and then we started running simultaneously. So even though we just opened the store in Huntington, if I go back 12 years, we used to do pop-ups in the malls. So when an iPhone released, the malls would reach out to us, or we'd reach out to the malls, and they would say, hey, do you want to set up like literally a table in front of the Apple store, and you could buy back stuff. So we would have people in the city buying in the Fifth Avenue. We'd have people in the mall, and I guess ironically enough, 12 years later now, the physical store is literally right across from the mall. So we kind of full circle came back. But yeah, I mean, that's how we got started, and that's what people loved about us. And it was kind of fun, playful aspect, but it was also just getting things done.
So, just logistically of buying, going back into when you guys would buy,
Yeah.
like offer cash for buying new, what was the benefit of that outside of like the press, but like, would you, is that like a loss leader kind of thing because you have this brand new product that's you paid say $500 for at the time, or you just for easy numbers, $1,000. Why would somebody then buy a new product from you for $1,000 instead of just going to Apple? Or do you have to reduce your price to sell it for 900 and then you're losing money on that?
Yeah, it depends. So a lot of the devices, even if we're buying it new from someone, we won't pay the retail price.
But when you were in Apple, you had to
Yes,
obviously.
yes. For those ones, yeah,
Yeah.
we would just pay, and that was just kind of that was part of a marketing budget, and it's
Okay,
just like
sure.
yeah, at that point.
Okay.
So that and those are kind of one-off, unique situations. Yeah, we knew we were going to take a loss on it, but you're making it, if you're spending $1,000 a day on ads, then what's the difference of
Sure.
$1,000 for a device?
Yeah.
Worst case, you're going to use the device.
Yeah.
So even if you didn't want to sell it, or someone's going to use it, whatever the case might be. But it was just part of marketing, and,
Hmm.
and that's I guess what you would deem part of the advertising budget, and it actually goes a lot further than whatever ads you could buy.
Sure,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, it reminds me very much of the story. I'm sure you probably heard the story of the Red Bull when they were trying
Yes.
to promote the Red Bull. But so for those that haven't heard it, the owner of Red Bull is like, "How do I get people to buy my product?" And what it is, he just emptied a whole bunch of cans and put them all over the city, over New York City, just on top of the garbage cans, next to the garbage cans, and everybody that's would walk in the city, be like, "Man, like everybody's drinking Red. What is this Red Bull? It's everywhere."
It's just impressions.
Exactly, it's free
So
impressions, like real
that's
life impressions.
that's what it is, and it's actually much better than an ad in a sense because psychologically, when you see something on your way to your walk to work or on your way to the subway or whatever, psychologically you're storing that information, but you don't realize that you're being served an ad. Whereas conversely, when you see an ad, this is an ad. Okay, yes, I might like it, but it's actually a better impression to see something in its natural habitat. It just makes such a lasting
Yeah.
impression.
I'm curious now how you still like how do you get your name out there now? What kind of marketing are you doing now?
We're still very much existing in an online world. Like I said, it's almost 65, 70%, even from the store, the sales are online. So we take advantage of mostly any of the online landscapes that you see. A lot of Google ads, the social media ads we're trying to be more active on because they're different, even though people bucket them under the same, bucket. So a Google ad is a query. It's query based. You type in what you want, sell iPhone, and then you get served an ad. So you have to be in the mindset of searching for that. Whereas a social media ad, what I realized is people are scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. It's an awareness thing. So even though I've been doing this for 15 years, people still don't know what we do. And even though with the store, if I put a coffee shop there and I say, hey, we sell coffee, people passing by on the road or in front of the store, they say, okay, am I in the mood for a coffee? But when you see, buy, sell, and trade in electronics, like what is that? So that's the question that people get. It's an awareness thing. So scrolling, scrolling, scrolling on social media, then you see that, hey, I can go sell my electronics for cash, or hey, I can go buy a certified pre-owned device at a discount. That's the awareness that we're trying to get out there. So that's the difference between like the Google search and like the social media. Social media kind of raises the awareness and says, okay, I can do this. And Google's that query. Someone has to be in the mindset and actually know what they want to do.
Mm.
So we do a balance of both.
Going forward, what's outside of franchising, which you mentioned a couple of times, where do you see this business going in the next 5, 10 years?
I would say the main focus is the franchising, and it's outside of the franchising, it's
Or
that.
I guess if you want to focus on that, then what's your rollout plan for franchising? What's the next step in that?
So franchising becomes a business in and of its own. So right now, operating a store, operating a website, you're operating those businesses. Once you start franchising, obviously it's a separate entity, but your job is to service those franchisees. You become basically their go-to. Hey, you have to give them the playbook to execute upon to become successful. So that becomes a whole business in and of itself. And that's really where we want to see the growth. We believe that we've had tremendous success online. So we know that there's a demand for selling and a demand for buying this stuff. We feel that people should be able to see this in person, and there's no name brand that you can go to and say, hey, I know that I can go get a great deal on a device from this brand. You can find little places here and there. You can go online. Again, you get back to the marketplaces, the meetups. We like to say, no meetups, no mix-ups. That's part of our transparency thing. So, we want people to just reconsider where they can go and what they can do in the used consumer electronics space. And I think that's the main driver. Right now, there's a huge market for certified pre-owned cars or certified pre-owned watches, and people know that they can go get something at a great deal. But in the consumer electronics space, there's not so much awareness, and that's what we're trying to do. So where does this brand go? It's driving awareness and really just giving a value add to a local community, because all the stores, they're a 360 revolving of buying and selling. So they're taking product in from the local community, and it's at the same time they're serving the local community. And again, one of the other things we do is, even if you have something that you wanted to clear your house out of and we can't buy it, we'll take it and we'll recycle it for you.
Wow.
It's just something that's staying green and sustainability, and it's something that we're like, okay, what can we do that everyone can at least contribute or be a part of. And the other part of what we do is, when we put someone in the store, they're trained at our warehouse, they get all the technical knowledge. So if you want to come in and just talk tech with us, we're more than happy to do that too. Because at our core, we're just people who like tech, and we kind of just, like I said, everyone can relate to it in some point. And that goes from, a young kid to an older couple that's just, oh, I'm outdated, but they still want to talk about it. They still want to be connected. And I think with the stores, our goal is to really connect with the communities and say, hey, we're your go-to option for buying and selling. But if you want to come in and just talk about electronics, we're happy to do that too.
Yeah, I mean, there was some that I haven't bought anything in an actual Apple store in a long time.
You go online, or?
Yeah, I go online.
Yeah.
Uh, or honestly, I've even purchased Apple products from Amazon at this
You probably
point.
bought it from us then. We fulfill on Amazon too.
Really?
Well, do you know how Amazon works or no? Most
Essentially
people,
with the drop shipping aspect of certain things. But tell me a little more.
it's not necessarily drop shipping. So Amazon's all about the buy box. So when you go to Amazon, you
Buy
search
box, you're
the
saying.
buy box. That's what it's called. So there's an algorithm in the background. When you search for a product, it basically takes in a qualitative aspect of which merchant can fulfill this item and SKU expediently, efficiently,
Wow.
and reliably. And basically,
The logistics of selling,
correct.
essentially.
So let's say when you go type in let's say an iPhone 14 on Amazon, right, used or whatever it is, you're going to just click buy, but there's, let's just say, 5 or 10 sellers in the background competing for that box. Amazon serves you what they deem is best. It's not always the cheapest, but it's a mixed algorithm of who can get you that product the best so that you're most likely to be happy. So we fulfill in the background over there as well. So you might have bought something thinking it was Amazon, but Amazon doesn't sell that. It's coming from a third-party seller that they've vetted. It's a very strict vetting process to sell Apple products on Amazon. You have to sell a certain sales volume, you have to have sales receipts. So it's a little bit better than an eBay experience. eBay, you can go on and sell it, and there's no rules. It's the wild, wild west. You don't know what you're getting. So Amazon, yes, it's a little bit more reliable, but they don't do any of the fulfillment.
So essentially, just to kind of
Clarify.
clarify, I'll try to understand this a little further. So if I'm buying toothpaste, a specific brand of toothpaste, there's probably some third party, not necessarily that toothpaste brand, that's fulfilling that order, or it could be the toothpaste
It could
brand.
be if they decide to sell on Amazon. And then there's two aspects. They could be fulfilling it themselves, or they could do FBA, which is fulfilled by Amazon.
Which that's kind of what I'm more familiar with, is the FBA
Yeah,
aspect of
FBA.
it.
So, and a brand could go on Amazon and basically, very strict again what Amazon
Yeah.
wants, because they want to make sure that you as a consumer, you get the best experience. But for the brands, it's very strict. So basically, if it's FBA, then they're taking a bunch of that stuff, they're shipping on pallets. They go to an Amazon fulfillment center, and Amazon handles the listing, it handles the sales, it handles the fulfillment. And the nice thing is it handles the returns on the flip side. So it's
Yeah.
kind of hands off. You could take that and just ship it there.
Yeah, it's also how you get access to essentially all the become a prime
Correct.
product.
Yes. So that's, yeah. And toothpaste is, I guess, a little bit more commoditized in that sense, because let's say there's 5 main brands of toothpaste, and then there's, 10, 20 other little brands, but you know what you want with toothpaste. A device, especially in the used market, is a little bit more nuanced in the fact that, again, like I said, even though I could sell 2 of the same iPhone 14s, they're different.
Mm.
So there's a little bit of subjectivity in the
But I'm
grading.
more so saying like the aspect of like if it's not FBA
Mhm.
fulfilled by Amazon, and somebody purchases this item, there's likely 7 different sellers throughout the nation, and if you're in Idaho, you're going to get a different seller than if you're in New York, because logistically, Amazon wants you to be able to get that as fast as possible.
Correct. Yeah. So that definitely is part of their algorithm. Who
It's
can
interesting.
fulfill.
I just didn't never even.
You never thought of it?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never
I
thought
mean,
about it.
most people don't, but yeah, when you start going behind the scenes, Wizard of Oz and what's going on,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll take all that in consideration.
Yeah.
So if you're in, New York is a zone 1, California is a zone 9.
Wow.
They'll look at a origination zip, a destination zip, what's the, fulfillment time, and they'll say, okay, who fulfills the most reliably from these areas to this area. So it's all going on in the
Wow,
background
that's
in,
so
instant.
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of basic if-then statements, but I guess now they call it AI. But yeah, there's a lot going on.
So before we wrap up, you brought some packaging. I think it'd be cool to share that with the
Yeah,
audience
sure.
because you talked about how you create that experience, that exciting experience of opening a product, as opposed to like, I mean, I bought plenty of used products in the past, and it's like, oh, cool, I got the product, but there is some novelty of opening the thing and taking it, whatever. So can you talk about it and show it?
Yeah, and I think just to go to your point, subconsciously you might not even think about you're missing the packaging, but when you have a option of using the opening packaging or not, it's almost like a present and it takes you back to that childhood experience of sometimes just the excitement of unwrapping is more than the
Hmm.
what's inside. So this is just a basic packaging. It comes down to even a bag that you're going to be able to walk out with. So with a cell phone, you're going to be able to get a full box, almost like an Apple box. The device is going to sit in there safe, charger, everything's branded, of course.
I like the branding. It's you spend, to be honest with you, an incredible amount of detail on all the
Yeah.
brandings that you have.
So, charger. So this is a fast charger pack. We kind of we do this as a value add to customers. So this is, we give this away, not give this away, but for $10. Whereas at Apple, it's $20 for
Wow.
the block, $20 for a cable. So this is $40.
Wow.
So this is actually nice, and this is a hot seller because people are like, hey,
Yeah,
for ten
that's a
dollars you can't go
great
wrong.
deal.
It's also a great gift. And then just to go back to what I was saying about the warranty, so you get a warranty card, and on the back there's a QR code. You scan that, you type in the IMEI, and it's going to take you to that digital device history report, which no one else is doing. And then this is kind of just a little cool thing where you get your little warranty tag, and again you scan that QR code on the back, and it's going to take you to that device history report as well. So all of that goes in there. Again, this is the charger, and then the box, and we have bigger boxes for MacBooks and tablets and things like that. So that is my present to you.
Oh wow, thank you.
Yeah. So hopefully you have an iPhone. If not,
Yeah, absolutely.
do you
Thank
have
you.
an
Oh wow,
iPhone?
I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
So now I got the new charger. Oh,
You
thanks,
get
man.
extra
I
charger.
appreciate,
Yeah.
yeah, appreciate that. Thank you so
So
much.
that's a little gift, and
Thank you.
But again, it's just something that you shouldn't walk out with just a device, and that's perfectly okay. Some people are, hey, I don't need it, but then they look at it, they'll go, I'll take it, because if not, they'll just give it to someone, and it's still a bag, it's still something, and
Absolutely.
it's still something tangible that you're like, you know what, I got something that feels more than just
Well,
secondhand.
it's the above and beyond. There's I'm sure you've heard this phrase. People don't necessarily remember what you say; they remember how you make them feel.
Correct.
And if you can make a customer feel something different than just the average store, where you just go and buy something, they'll remember it. It's a simple coffee shop. You go and buy a coffee 100 times, and you go to one spot, and they just make you feel different by giving you something extra, or by adding on to the value of somehow, some way. For example, just even as simple as like, oh, you have a dog. Hey, you want a puppuccino? Like
Yeah.
that little note, like, hey, you noticed, and wow, that's so thoughtful. You'll first of all tell 15 people about it, and second of all, that experience will be that much better and more memorable than any other experience you had in a coffee shop.
Correct. And just one more thing to add. So going to your point, so what we do is, in a sense, we're buying electronics, and we could have kept it purely transactional. Hey, you have this device. Okay, we can pay $100, and we can go to the cashier register, and we can give you the $100. But even that felt cheap, and that felt used, and that felt secondhand. What we do is, when you sell something to us, you're going to obviously sell it to us. We're going to say, okay, you're going to get a QR code sent right to your phone, and then we have a cash out kiosk that you're going to go scan that.
Wow.
You're going to go scan that code, and you get to see the money coming down. Because if we just handed over cash to you, it felt transactional. And everything about our experience is about being
Experiential,
elevated,
yeah.
upgraded. So we had to even rethink the whole concept of how do we pay customers. And there's no one else doing it like that. Okay, you can just pay and hand over cash, and that's how we got our start on the street. But we're not on the street anymore. We're in the suburbs, and we're in a store that looks more like a luxury boutique than a secondhand electronics store. So we had to even rethink all those concepts, and that comes down to the packaging and even just paying customers. We could just hand over cash, but that was transactional. That wasn't an experience. So you come in, you get your QR code, you scan it, and you get to see the money. And it's also a big attraction point. Kids come in, they're like, hey, what is this? Or even people are like, hey, oh wow, that's pretty cool. That's that's the wow factor, the above and beyond, and that's really what we want to kind of encapsulate and give to everyone.
I mean, just from our conversation in wrapping it up, one of the things that I think that I've taken away from this is your attention to detail and how attention to detail can elevate a product and elevate an
Correct.
experience for the customer and make people coming back. You know, technology is not going anywhere, and it's been here for a long time. People are constantly buying new stuff, and if they have a great experience at you once because you have that wow factor, that elevated attention to detail, they'll never go anywhere else.
Yeah, I would think that's definitely what we sought out to achieve, and I hope we did. And again, the attention to detail is everything. If you don't do the little things right, you're never going to be able to do the
Wow.
large things right.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Absolutely.
important.
And you're the perfect example, selling over 1 million devices and $100 million in
Yes.
product, or in product essentially, right?
Yeah, $100 million in product, and now it's on to the next thing of, hey, can we get these stores into every community so that you guys can come experience what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so
always a
much.
pleasure. Thank
Absolutely.
you for having me.